order at what is it, 5:10, right around there.
5:08.
Approval of minutes, if everybody's looked over the minutes of the last organizational meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Okay, that's for Mark. Can you second that, Gemma, since you were here? Or Angela? Okay,
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I'm gonna say, okay, unanimous. So now we have the election of chairperson, so I guess it's going to be up to the committee as to who wants to serve as chair, who would be interested in that.
I nominate Gemma.
Okay, Mark nominates Gemma.
I'll second.
Angela seconds that. Would you accept it if voted in?
Could I nominate Angela?
Nomination.
Well,
This is not tennis.
I'll accept it if you like. I'll accept chair. That's fine. Absolutely. I'd be honored.
okay, can we have a vote on that? Accepting, having Gemma be the chairperson?
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Larry, you good with that?
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous. So then we don't have anybody here yet for subrecipient presentations, so we have a few minutes. I guess we'll just wait till they get here and then the meeting is yours, Gemma. Lucky girl.
Wonderful. Do you have, to help me out, do you just have a quick breakdown that you can send me via email in terms of a couple points that I would have to make sure that we cover?
You want an email of it?
Or email, text, or whatever, something like that.
Okay. Would you mind taking a picture of it? And
Les was, yeah, you could take a photo and text it.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Angela's gonna take a picture of it and send it to you.
That's perfect. That would be super helpful.
Okay.
I mean, Les was just so brilliant and he made everything just run so smoothly, and I just
I
want to make
know.
sure that I can, do half as
It's
good.
hard to follow. I saw John Madeira was, that's the. Gemma, what's your cell?
Okay, 401-741-2969. So that's 401-741-2969.
That's for people to call in, but you have to actually know how to use it.
I just think the volume here is not that good.
I don't know if it.
I thought the one that called and it was down. Well, maybe.
Just
not.
got it. I should be able to actually make it there in person in about 10 minutes. Just give me another 10 and I'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
That's good. Then
Um,
first presentation is not until 5:30, so
I
you're good.
there was somebody that was looking to come in, John Madeira. I saw that name
Okay.
up there, but I don't know.
Should I put out the handicap, parking over here? No,
No, there's no, well, unless
Deanna.
some of ours.
okay.
Some of
Is it open?
There's a sign and you can I could punch it open if that's what Deanna said, I don't know.
Yeah, isn't it open though? It's not open.
I don't
The
think so.
gate.
I have to go see, I can't see. I'm
Yeah.
Kathy.
It is open.
Oh, it is open?
Yes, I can. see it from here.
Norwich Works in Norwich, housing,
Mhm.
their requests seem to be duplicate services.
Oh,
They're not,
no, Norwich Works
Well,
is employment training.
I understand,
Yeah,
but when you look at where the CBDG funds are going,
Mhm.
uh.
Well,
let's see if
yeah,
I can-
let me just take a look at it, looking at it.
it breaks down. The
So here's for the Norwich, page 5 for the Norwich, Works, I think, right? Norwich Works. And then it would be page 5 for the next one too. Then. So a
The
good
number of
portion of it
persons.
is salary, because of course, that's what human services is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take someone to provide the service and,
Which one are we looking at?
he's looking at, Norwich Human
Okay.
Services and Norwich Works and the housing.
Oh, the housing, okay.
If we look at page 5.
Yeah, but there was a discrepancy.
Oh, was there?
Operations. On page 4, they anticipate 20,000. And oh, by the way, if you look at the salaries here,
Mhm.
the employment case manager makes the exact same amount as the housing specialist.
Mhm.
Are they the same, in other words, it's the
A union
exact same,
contract, they're probably the same classification.
but the human services director, commission coordinator, they're all the exact same. This page
Mhm.
exists over in Norwich Housing.
Not Norwich, Norwich, it's still Norwich Human Services,
Right.
but one of it is the, Norwich Works program and the other one is their housing program.
The other salary is 55,000.
And that would be
versus
the
54.
same under both. Those should be just about the same under
No,
both,
no.
depending on,
Okay, the manager of adult
Right.
living,
right,
he has a different salary, but the administrative coordinator is the same person.
might be.
But how do we know?
Ask.
It's,
It probably is the same person, but we're
Then
not
we're
funding
paying-
any. We're not funding any of that.
no, we're funding 100% over in Norwich Works.
For the employment case manager, that's
Right.
what we'd be funding. We're not funding those other positions.
We're actually funding the housing specialist at 100%.
Correct. Right,
Right,
it's two different people.
you're sure that two fifty?
They're two different people.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have the housing specialist, they'd be hiring for them.
Oh.
So that I do know, but
And then operations over here is 20,000,
yep,
which is the anticipated, and then on the page 5. And we're on Norwich Works. Operations, direct services, which is operations. I believe, oh, no,
well,
direct,
no, direct services is 20, other expenses 20.
except for over here on page 5, program specific financial data. Direct services is 40,422, which is.
Which makes it a good question. Ask when they come up with that number.
Yeah, because they call it 20,000 and they call it 42.
Yeah, so ask, I would definitely say that's a good question
Well,
to ask.
I was wondering if that was, because the identical salaries were,
Yep,
is that the same person and we're funding and
no, but
But
the
this-
direct services to clients will be like, in that particular group is the tuition they pay.
I
for them.
understand
Yeah,
all that.
so, but
But
they're saying it's 20,000 here. Anticipated, and here it's showing 40. What they might be saying is it's 20 from CDBG and 20 from someplace
no,
else, but,
this is CBDB funded.
yep,
It's 24
which
regular.
is The salary plus the direct services.
Right.
It's
So-
20 there and 20 here.
right,
Or just-
20 for, right, so ask, that's a good question, ask. That's a discrepancy, so I would ask, or an unclarity, no matter what, so.
Yeah.
Hello.
Budget got me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you're in the right place.
No.
No.
Mm. Is Gemma there? Gemma, are you on?
She has to unmute it.
Yes, I am. What's up? Sorry, I missed that question though.
It's not yet.
It doesn't, well,
No, come on.
I'm sorry.
It's 5:15 still.
Right, but the meeting started at 5. We can start taking people,
Okay.
right? I mean, nobody has an objection to taking people
No.
at
We have,
20 past 5 if they're here.
Yeah, I'm gonna start from the top down and work.
With children and placement, right there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I recognize her, so she's
Yeah,
here.
okay.
So if you don't mind, Gemma, we'll start while you're on the phone and start with children and placement. People get here early, you can cycle through earlier, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're all about that.
No,
100%. I'm
It's a
about
long
5 minutes
day,
out.
right?
Yep, I started.
So we have children in placement here. And can you just give the committee your name
Sure,
and
my name is Janet Frymuth. And I am the executive director, Children and Placement. And here, Gemma, I'll give you an extra one for her.
thank you.
And you try to stand here so she can see.
Yeah, that is fine. Yeah.
She's driving, so I don't think you need to, I think she's probably just listening, not watching, so feel free to
Sure.
be comfortable. And just so you know, I'm Kathy Crease, we've met before.
Okay, yes.
I'm working as a consultant, but
Right.
this is my one and only meeting and then I'm out. This is Craig Lehman, he's been hired by the city, he's the new community development director.
Nice to meet you.
So this is your new go-to.
Yep.
Besides Sandra, which of
Right.
course you know, and then we have committee members, Gemma's on the phone, Larry Rice, Angela and Mark. And we should be good.
Sure, great, thank you. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm Janet Frymuth, Executive Director of Children and Placement. Our mission is to advocate for the best interests of children, of Connecticut's abused and neglected children within the child welfare and judicial systems. We have regional offices across the entire state, while our administrative headquarters are based in New Haven. The office that puts Norwich is actually in the Waterford Superior Court, where Norwich cases are heard. For 45 years, Children in Placement has been dedicated to recruiting, training, and guiding volunteer advocates to serve as guardians ad litem in court, providing invaluable support of the hundreds of child victims across the state each year. We are the sole organization undertaking this crucial work, often operating behind the scenes within the court system and alongside the Department of Children and Families. It is important to note that unlike DCF caseworkers and attorneys who juggle numerous cases, our volunteers prioritize individualized attention by focusing on just 1 or 2 cases at a time. In addition, unlike attorney GALs, our volunteer GALs go beyond legal aspects, consistently delving into the comprehensive well-being of the child. They investigate the child's circumstances, make recommendations to the court, and ensure the child's voice is heard throughout the legal process. Their dedicated work ensures the realization of the child's best interests, addressing not only the legal aspects, but also the physical, emotional, social, and educational needs. In 2022, Norwich alone reported and accepted 335 cases of abuse. Annually, our team works tirelessly to ensure that the basic needs of children in our caseload and their families were met. Going above and beyond our usual responsibilities, our team tackles challenging cases, offering comprehensive reports to assist judges in making well-informed decisions regarding the safe and permanent placement of children. With much to accomplish, we rely on our community to join us in nurturing and supporting our children. Research indicates that having a GAL volunteer involved in a child protection case leads to better outcomes. Children and families tend to receive more court-ordered services, cases are more likely to be permanently closed, and children move towards permanency faster compared to cases without GAL representation. However, CIP receives less of it than half of its budget from state funding, relying heavily on the support of our cities and other sources to continue this vital work. This funding will help increase our recruitment efforts for new guardian ad litem volunteer advocates, as well as provide the necessary staff support to manage the cases assigned. Currently, our team is serving 23 children from the city itself. We accept 100% of the cases assigned to us. Above all else, remember this: our volunteers are the unwavering voice dedicated solely to advocating for the child's best interest. They diligently monitor the child's ongoing safety, provide steadfast support throughout court proceedings. Our volunteers work tirelessly to eliminate any barriers hindering the child's journey to safe and permanent swimming. Thank you for your time and consideration of our request. Any questions? I went pretty quick.
If you'll refer to page 15 and 17 of your application.
Okay, I didn't bring this.
Oh, okay, it's the outcome related definitions.
Okay,
I'm a little confused. Just looking at 2022. The total participants say 30,
mhm,
and then down at the bottom of the page, and of course, it's broken down by long-term, interim, short-term, and output.
mhm.
And the number of Norwich residents is actually greater than the,
Total number of participants, I see what you're saying.
and you know, so my other questions are the long-term, interim, and short-term outcomes. Are we speaking solely of Norwich
Yes,
residents?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you look over on the right side of the page, on the output section. In 2024, you're anticipating 356.
Total family served, total people within the family served.
Those are Norwich residents? When you've only served 32 and
So this,
22?
so that may have been my error. So we're anticipating serving. Yeah, that might have been my error.
Is that statewide? Is that?
No, that's my error. I can send a revised if you would prefer.
Yep. If
Okay,
you could send that in, send it to Sandra
Yep.
and she'll get it out to the
Yep.
committee. That would be appreciated. I have a question following up on
Sure.
that was to, and I guess it's probably here and it might be answered
Yeah.
by the sheet, as to how many are served in the region.
in the region, I'd have to,
Right.
You mean in this region,
Right.
not just Norwich, within like.
Well, I'm looking for how many are served in the region. And the reason I asked that
Yeah.
is because CDBG funds represent 48% of the salary.
Right,
So are 48% of the clients from Norwich is kind of what I was looking for.
sure,
Thank you. That was,
yeah,
So if you could take a look at those numbers again and
Yeah.
see if that balances
Yeah, I
out
can-
or
I
make
can
an
do that, yeah.
amendment.
yeah,
Yeah.
this chart is a little bit tricky for me, it's the only one, you know. But yeah, no, I understand, so I'll take a look at it, I need to read this time.
You were basically you and I are on the same sort of thing on that.
Yep, okay,
those were,
So if you can answer those things and get that information
Sure.
back to Sandra
Yeah,
by
I'll get-
next
I'll get
week,
that.
I think we'd appreciate that. Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
I know it was a long ride.
Well, actually, I was in Bridgeport this morning, so. yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a day, huh? Hey, Gemma.
Gemma.
Sit over here.
I know, I said, I feel like it's kind of us against them in a lot of this. It's kind of like, I feel like the balance is not right. It's like the balance doesn't show. Yes.
this one.
Long day.
Yeah, page 15 and 17 is achieved recently.
Right.
so coming.
And respond to our 48% of clients served by the coordinator.
And also that 48% is of the very top range of the salary.
Right. So, so the salaries was, we're gonna pay 48% of the salary, to make sure the clients they're serving are actually
Represent.
Norwich residents and
Well,
represent
they-
that
they-
salary.
Represent the London County level.
Well, they represent the entire state in doing this, so, but the regional coordinator works within the whole region. And that's the
What's
salary
our-
we're paying.
What's our region?
I don't remember off the top of my
Probably-
head what it is. Yes, they do
I
say,
was just looking to see. Right.
they do say. I forgot what it is. Oh, I saw it somewhere. I don't know where. I think I'm making it up.
I was looking for.
You never know.
Specific things and. You know, related to our last discussion, so. There were some things I just didn't. So it's. I don't think that was any questions.
Looks like I'm making it up. I don't see it either. Anybody look at it coming? We have
Yeah,
John Madeira.
that's Morning House.
That's TDCCA.
That's
So I don't know if you want to go out of order or not, Gemma.
You represent.
No, she's staff. Yeah. Najali is staff. She works in the community development office. She represents herself. You know, she's just here trying to see what's going on.
Morning.
So who do we have? I would love to keep this
Oh,
meeting
John,
rolling.
you're right, you're right.
and, not
Looks a
waste
lot
any
like,
time.
Oh
So.
That's funny.
Who's here ready to present right now?
That is Martin House, is that what you said? So he's not till 7, but he's here now. I don't know if you, 5:30,
Yeah.
you know, we could take it if you,
Take it.
there's no one else in the waiting room right now.
John, can you hear us?
Would you be ready?
Is he asked to unmute?
Yes, I will. Can you see me here?
Yeah.
Can you turn him up?
Might be
Yeah, that
able-
would be great. I thought I'd log on early to see if I could get in. Been a long day.
We don't have a speaker to it either.
No, we don't have a speaker.
Okay, John, if you want to give a brief presentation, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, we put in for a housing advocate position. I don't know if you're familiar with Martin House here, though. We have 52 residents
You're a little quiet.
that we support.
We don't have any way of, there's no speaker.
No, we don't have speakers. And that's what I was. No. Are you sure this one doesn't work?
Zero.
This
No,
speaker-
I don't know. Let's try it though, because. See if that'll do it.
Yeah, there we go.
Hear me?
Now,
Is that better? Change the.
is that,
No, you were plugged in.
can you speak now, John, so we can
Yeah.
see?
Can
No,
you
that
guys hear
doesn't
me
work.
or?
How about the volume on
Nope.
our computer?
It's up all the way.
I can also take a ride down, I'm not that far away.
Nope, now you're up.
No,
Yeah, there
that's-
you go. That the
No.
keep going.
John, can you go ahead and talk?
Yeah, can you catch me? Kind of, a little bit.
Very quiet.
Yeah, I don't know what to do on my
Yeah,
end.
you're very quiet, so if you could just get as close to your mic as possible and.
Yeah, I mean,
for
can you hear
our-
me
our
now?
benefit here.
I'm as kind of close as I can get to my mic. No?
Let's check.
Can you come over?
I can, what,
Can I see
I
the-
can come over. I
Can I
think
see
that's
the-
gonna probably work better.
I'll
What,
tell you
where
what,
you got, where,
you're
what's the
early,
address over there? You guys are in
so,
City Hall, right?
We're dealing with technical issues here to see if we can't figure out how to increase the volume, because we really do want to hear what you say. Can you hear us well?
Absolutely. I mean, I can come down. I'm not that far away. I'm at Martin House on Uncas. So I can come down and present if the Zoom isn't gonna work. Absolutely. Whatever you folks need.
Well, I think that if we hear him clearly, I don't think that it should necessarily be an issue.
So
I don't think it's on my end.
for us. You're old school, Larry.
Uh,
The fact is, we've got to up our technology because if it's not working, you're right, then it's.
yeah, I don't think it's on my end. Can you hear
No,
me?
it's, we don't have speakers, so we're trying to figure it out because the computer
Oh, okay.
speakers are not enough.
It's a one-man show in an office. I have one. Let's see, let's just try really quick. Your settings, and your speaker.
Oh, maybe the Bluetooth. I know because it's connected.
You could hear the last one.
The device.
No, I don't have any.
See, computer, settings, settings. All right, what did you unplug? Is it an Insignia?
Something.
Speaker.
Speakerphone?
I see what you're saying.
Is it
I-
potentially
Maybe
this
that
thing?
one.
You think it might be this one?
No, the first one. I think it is.
This
The
one?
speakerphone. That's the one it was. At the device.
You don't know if it's an Insignia? Does it have a label on it of anything it is? No.
Something helped me out today. So.
You know, the Insignia is the TV.
Let's plug the TV.
Maybe.
I didn't. All of us wanted to do it. That work? Helped me out. We were able to start the meeting with a quorum. There was a massive pile up on I-91 North. Should know up there.
I think if we should try the Insignia TV, that's the Insignia you were looking for. I think that's the TV.
Okay. Then we want to
Notice how quickly we're not.
we're gonna use that as a default for right now,
For now.
for now. And then can we save?
Notice how
anything?
quickly you were nominated?
Yeah, what
I
happened?
think they have to allow it. Allow.
You're the chair.
Thank you.
Mm,
Well, big shoes to follow for,
Yeah.
Do you want me to see if he can?
Cause your TV's plugged in. If you talk to us now, no.
yeah, can you hear me better?
No.
No.
I think if we can't get the volume up, this is not gonna be a very effective presentation regardless of how well John has prepared, so. If all is willing, if all are willing, we would schedule his presentation for either in person or try it again. For the next time that we have a meeting, is that a possibility? Because I
Yeah.
think that, we need to hear what he's saying.
Yeah, and we also have someone else waiting already.
Says they're
It will
both
end up with the
registered
same
to this,
issues.
so I can't.
Yeah. So this is.
Can you move over there?
Are you guys at City Hall? Cause I can stop down.
No, just hold on a second. We're gonna have
Okay.
Sandra
City
go
Hall.
that way. No, we're
Yeah,
not.
no,
Sure.
because connection.
You're hard connected?
Yeah, to the TV, to the camera. Well, the camera can move, the TV can't.
Well, I'm thinking maybe if you put it more towards the center or something that people might be able to hear it better. I don't know. Or maybe we'll move over, have the committee move over here some where they can hear it better.
Let's see if we can just scoot on down.
Yeah, I can't hear you guys that great either, but
Over
I'll do the best I can.
this way, but then now you can't move people in, right? Yeah.
I don't know where this is.
You're a test person.
Oh, that's all right. I get it, believe me. We have board meetings and we had to get up with technology and. I mean, I wish I would have just came down and presented in person. I would have liked to meet everybody anyways, so.
I can hear it. But I wear hearing aids to be
You guys
quite
can hear
frank,
me?
so.
I have terrible hearing.
Let's give it a whirl, I guess, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? I'm talking as loud. I can talk louder.
Just talk as loud as you can, and we'll go from
Okay,
there.
so Martin House put in for an housing advocate position. As you know, housing's a real tough, subject right now in our region. We have individuals right now that could possibly move to create more capacity for other individuals. But that position is really pinnacle about, finding those placements for people because really housing's so limited. Going forward with the position, we foresee the Community Foundation to fund the other part of the position, the other half of it, so we can hire a full-time person. And then once we show good outcomes, we hope that Demas, because we work with Demas, would pick up that position for us, or we'd be able to get other funding for it. But our goal is to create more capacity here to create more housing. So the more people we can place, the more housing we can provide for people that need it. We have right now, we've had up to a 30-person wait list here. We have a staff person that's worked here for 25 years, and she said she's never had a wait list like that ever. So we're turning people away or turning them to 211. And we really want to be able to provide those services for people. So this position would be pinnacle for our region, pinnacle for Norwich residents to be able to, create some housing, additional resources for them. Questions?
So what you're looking to do is to place more capable residents out into the community.
It clicks on.
Is that correct?
Yes, we already have a transition program, but the problem is housing's so limited, we've had to spend a lot more time finding those placements. So this position would give a position to someone just to concentrate on the individuals we have right now that are ready for placement, and then create more capacity here to support more individuals that don't really have anywhere to go. I mean, we're basically having to turn away people. If Martin House had 30 more beds here, I got to tell you, we could fill those pretty quickly. So it's really tough for our folks in Norwich right now to find appropriate housing. So this position, it would be just to create capacity.
In the residents in Martin House are Norwich residents?
Yes, they are Norwich residents. They pay, they in the community. I got to tell you, the majority of our residents, if we ask them, where would you like to live? Where would you, they would always say Norwich. Most of them would say Norwich. I mean, a lot of individuals we work with, we do usually housing applications and vouchers for all the towns that we possibly can, but their preference would be Norwich. We have some long-term housing here. We have some like midterm housing, and we also really have a transition program, and those are the folks that were really want to work with to place them, and then that would open up placements here to serve other Norwich residents that just have nowhere to go. They're either living in the car, they're couch surfing, or they just have nowhere to go on the street. I mean, we get calls, we turn away people all the time. And right now we're seeing a younger population and we're seeing an older population. So we're actually seeing some seniors too that just have no housing. And they're mainly not just from New London County. There are, quite a few from Norwich.
So John, this is Kathy Crees. I have a question for you. In your
Sure.
application, you say you're hiring a full-time person and that CDBG would cover mostly salary. And 5,000 would be for client supports. And then you say this will only benefit 12 clients? That's what it
Yeah,
says
I
in your
mean,
application.
I mean, we really had a moderate amount because when we reviewed our clients, there's 12 in our transition program right now. So as we build life skills with them, we look at it being more, but we don't really want to overshoot the outcome either, just because of the housing crunch, just because, as availability in housing is really tough right now. I belong to a couple different affordable housing committees. We're working on, trying to get different options for housing. We're trying to team people up that live here as roommates and team them up that, realistically, nobody can afford rent. So you're gonna have to have a roommate. We've been looking at creative ways to be able to create more housing. But we didn't want to really overshoot the number just because it's really difficult right now. I think if we have a full-time person on, being able to work with people, really hunting down the housing, we'll have, you know, hopefully better outcomes than that. And just to say, you know, after COVID, we've lost a lot of landlords, I think that would work with us previously, unfortunately. That just, not because of us, I think it was just because of COVID. And I think if you watch the news, you know, there's a lot of, we lost a lot of that housing, just because we feel like landlords maybe didn't get reimbursed or know how to get the reimbursement back when COVID happened, unfortunately.
That was the second one.
John, Craig Clement. Now your clientele are basically disabled people and mentally ill and maybe some addiction.
Yeah, we work with mental health and addictions individuals. It could be it could be one. We also work with just the homeless population too. So it's not just as narrow as working with the mental health field and addictions.
Well, my question to you though is there's a lot of navigators out there, a lot of the continuum of care people that can have housing navigators. How would it be different from what's already existing, or would you be duplicating others' efforts?
So what I can tell you, you know, working in the mental health field, it's really important that you gain the trust of the individuals you work with. So we've had individuals, yeah, that we've transitioned to Reliance Health to find services. The outcomes aren't as good because we know the individuals. They trust us, we build the trust. It's easier for them to trust us in helping them make some, you know, sound, clear decisions. So we see a greater success when we help those individuals transition, other than just to hand them to a different agency. Once we hand somebody to a different agency, they have a really difficult time building trust. I think, you know, our mental health population has seen some really traumatic things in their lifespan, and the trust issue is really, really huge for them. And I gotta say that the individuals that live here at Martin House, we have a great staff, and they trust that we're gonna help them navigate, other than just handing them off to another agency.
Thank you.
So I have a quick question, John, which is, what sort of follow through do you have once you place somebody in housing? Then if you establish this trust, you obviously maintain it and continue throughout their tenancy. How does it work?
Well, I mean, first of all, we get the mental health stable, the addiction stable. We get we work on what the life skills piece, we evaluate the person to see if they're ready to live on their own. We do budgeting with them. And then we start really looking at placement, like what's your budget look like? What's the options for you? It's just, you know, to manage all of that. And we used to be able to do a better job at it because there used to be more availability. So right now, we're just struggling for availability. If we had a full-time person dedicated to the housing transition piece, we'd have better outcomes, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, we just don't have time to dedicate all what we need to just to the housing piece, because we're just working on stabilizing the individual and working on the life skills piece in the budgeting. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, we kind of, after COVID, it was just really difficult, and housing's been difficult anyways, but after COVID, it's been even worse. It's hard, and we want to create capacity. We want to serve people. It's hard to turn people away. It's hard to turn somebody away when, you know, they tell you they're not living in the car, you know they are. We had somebody a couple of weeks ago, and to be honest with you, she said she was a Norwich resident, and she looked like somebody's grandmother. And we had nowhere for her to go. What we had to do was refer her to 211. You know, and it's difficult. It's sad. It really is. It's the hard part of the job. to be
No
turning
doubt,
those
no
people away.
doubt, no doubt. I just
When we know we
understand-
can do it.
No doubt, you know, one doesn't question that aspect of it, at all. What kind of cross collaboration do you do with other, and what kind of partnerships, do you form with other, agencies? Perhaps that do similar things? 'Cause
So-
one thing about
Yeah.
Norwich, about this area is that there are many great organizations that do reach out, that do try to, you know, assist in place in, you know, and shelter, more vulnerable populations. So what sort of cross collaboration, you do? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's clear. I mean, we partner with Lions Health, we partner with Sound Community Services, and we partner with SMA, Southeastern Mental Health Association. So we partner with all three, but it always comes back to relationships. People with mental health and addictions really count on the relationships that you build with them. I can just give you an example. If I'm on vacation for a week and I come back, people that are living here really want to know where I was. Do I always share that? I say I'm on vacation, but they look forward to seeing me because they want that constant. So when our staff work with them and they recommend things and they try to direct them in a way that's pertinent to them and be helpful to them, it's just so much easier. We've seen people fail over and over that sometimes when we refer to another agency, because they don't necessarily trust them. They don't know them. For the time it takes for another agency to build a relationship with our folks, you know, in my opinion, is a waste of time, waste of time sometimes. Not with everyone, but certain people that we work with. Not with everyone. Some people we can refer, but we cannot refer everyone and expect to have a success. And I get that from our program directors, I get that from our program staff, and I get that from other agencies.
You can let them in, yeah.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions, any further questions for right now?
Okay.
Well, John, we really appreciate you being flexible and with your presentations. Yeah, and with our technology, and we figured it out. I don't know if you noted on our side, so anyway, going forward, we should be okay.
Angela figured it out.
Thank you again for adjusting your schedule and giving a presentation early.
No, I appreciate you taking me early. I understand the technology piece and I appreciate everything you folks do. So
Thank you very much.
have a good night.
too.
Thank you.
Big brothers, big sisters is in the room. You can come in and have a seat.
Hey, everybody, good evening.
So this is,
Ryan Matthews.
Brian Matthews, Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
That's right. Happy to be here with you guys. I'm sorry I can't be here in person. I'm actually calling in from Hartford because my wife is 38 weeks pregnant. So as much as I wish to be in the city of Hartford, or in the city of Norwich rather, I'm stuck in Hartford just in case the unexpected happens. So I appreciate you all bearing with me this evening.
thank you.
But as I do it, should I just dive in? Is there any place that y'all want me to start?
No, just a brief presentation on Big Brothers Big Sisters and the work they do in Norwich.
Nice. So first and foremost, so I'm Ryan Matthews. I'm the VP of programs for Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I just want to thank you guys. I know tonight is very long. I know there's a lot of really excellent competing applications, and I know that y'all have to sit through a bunch of presentations back to back to back after probably long days at work. So I appreciate you kind of bearing with us, hearing about the good work going on in the city, and doing, I think, a really valuable service for the folks of Norwich. So thank you. And as much as I'd love to get into the technical details of our application, I have to give specifically a 10-year-old boy some credit. So this application started way back in 2016. So in 2016, we had just taken over as an agency. We're now Big Brothers Big Sisters of Connecticut. Back then, 8 years ago, we were Nutmeg Big Brothers Big Sisters. And back 8 years ago, I had a different job title. And I drove down to the city of Norwich from where I lived at the time in Plainville. And I met a 10-year-old boy named Logan. Logan at that point was a 5th grader at Wequonic Elementary School. He was living with his grandmother. 73 at the time. This was in Taffville, Hunters Avenue, if memory serves, first floor apartment. And Logan was dealing with some challenges. So Logan I'm trying to remember the timeline exactly, but his dad left 2 to 3 years prior. And up until about 6 weeks prior to me meeting Logan, he was living with his mom. At that point, mom was in an inpatient treatment program for opioid addiction. And Logan, instead of being placed into, non-familiar foster care, was placed with his grandmother. So he had been living in Bristol, moved to Norwich, enrolled in a new school, meeting new friends, living with a caregiver who was much older than his mom, and adjusting to a new life in a new city, in a new school, without his mom or dad around. Despite that, he loved playing baseball. He's a second baseman, if memory serves. He was great in school. Though I think his grandmother spent a lot of time in the interview talking about him struggling with compositional writing, which is like the perfect thing a grandmother would say, right? It's like, where is he struggling? His compositional writing skills. And I remember being really into superheroes and video games and playing outside. And I was tasked with the job of finding a mentor for Logan. And I connected him with his big brother named Sean. Sean was 47 at the time. He's now 8 years older than that, so I'll let you do the math. Sean is a photographer and a graphic designer, still works at UConn, always had, lived with his wife and his dog in Norwich, and wanted an opportunity to give back. He had nieces, he had nephews in his life, never had children of his own, felt like he really wanted to invest in a relationship with a local kid. So I told Sean about Logan, told Logan and his grandmother about Sean, and introduced them. And 8 years later, after Logan's mom tragically relapsed and overdosed, after Logan graduated from McQuonic, and then graduated from Kelly, and then graduated from NFA, after grandma's now in her early 80s, celebrated 8 birthdays, still in Logan's life, thank God. Logan is now in a first-year work program at Electric Boat, high school diploma in hand from NFA, and all because Sean decided to spend 6 to 10 hours a month for the last 8 years investing in Logan's life. It wasn't like Sean's a clinician. It wasn't like Sean's a social worker. Sean received ongoing professional support from our caseworkers. He was connected to low-cost and no-cost activities. Logan was connected to our Big Futures program, which helped connect him at a trades program that NFA hosts, that helped connect him to resume writing workshops, that actually helped introduce him to opportunities at Electric Boat. But now Logan is now 18 years old, still has a mentor in his life. And I think his entire trajectory in life has been made far better simply because Sean decided to volunteer and because we've supported them along the way. I share all this story with you guys because Logan really inspires our work in Norwich. What the application that you're considering is the product of the last 8 years of us gradually increasing our presence in the city, working with key stakeholders, and kind of leveraging our experience in mentorship across the state to hopefully bring a pretty transformative program to the city. So I know the application is long, but the one thing I do want to draw everybody's attention to is the fact that we are going to be leveraging ample community collaborations as part of this application. We have spoken with principals at Kelly and at Teachers Memorial Global Studies Magnet, longest school name in the history of mankind, to bring school-based mentorship to Norwich Public Schools. We've talked to Assistant Superintendent Jamie Bender and the Superintendent of Norwich Public Schools to expand mentorship programming both within the school building and then outside in the neighborhoods and communities where our kids live. We've had conversations with the Director of Student Support Services at Norwich Free Academy, the folks with the United Way of Southeastern Connecticut, Community Foundation of Eastern Connecticut, at the Norwich Youth, Family, and Recreation Division, to try to bring the key stakeholders together to really bring a collaborative and transformative program. So what we're hoping to do is not only introduce school-based programming at a middle school, but over the course of time, stay with those middle school kids not just as they transition to high school, not just as they graduate from high school, but through the end of their psychological adolescence at age 26. So when you think about that $15,000 commitment that we've asked for, what you're really helping to do is help to start mentoring relationships that we hope will last for the next 12 years. So starting at 13, 14 years old, staying with these kids through age 26 by uniting stakeholders and being sure that volunteers remain well supported and committed throughout all the transitions that each of these young people have in front of them. And the goal is, like our data shows, these kids will be twice as likely to graduate with a college degree, will be 1.5 times more likely to have a household income higher than $75,000, and will be much more likely to remain and contribute to the Southeastern Connecticut community, and specifically to the city of Norwich, for years and years to come. I could go into more detail, but I'm also very sensitive on time and do want to leave time for questions if anybody has it. But I do hope that was a helpful synopsis, if nothing else.
Does anyone have any questions?
I had one question only about only having 12 on the wait list and expanding to 25, but I think you answered it and what you were saying and the steps you were taking.
Yeah, so certainly. So we had meetings earlier this week at both Kelly and teachers, and suffice it to say, they're not going to be short of young people who can benefit from mentoring in their schools. So we do imagine referrals from their schools being in, a typical like after school mentoring program. So staff facilitated, by the way, 96% of the funds that we're requesting will go to staff time to be sure that we have the employees on the ground doing the work, facilitating the programming, keeping the kids safe, keeping the mentors effective. But in addition, they'll be making referrals to our community-based mentoring program as well. And those school partners, again, will be teachers, Kelly, and NFA. But in addition, though it is not a part of this funding application, we also serve 36 students at Integrated Day, Mahan, and Veterans Memorial as well through our foster grandparent program. So not a part of the application. It is indicative of our commitment to Norwich Public Schools and, deepening our engagement with the city as a whole.
Yeah, I have a question, Ryan. Craig Clement, Director of Community Development. And I know it's only 15,000. I know you did get a CV funds before that I haven't looked at completely to see whether you submitted your drawdowns and your reporting, but I noticed on your organizational chart, your grants administrator position is open. And that would be the person that would, what's that?
Oh,
That
it
would
is
be-
great. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And that would be the person that would do drawdowns as well as supply us with any reporting requirements. So are you intending on filling that position?
Totally. Actually, we have a person starting on March 15th. We were sort of, I don't know if this person would categorize it, but we promoted our former grants administrator out of her role and into a new role as Director of Learning and Engagement with the agency. So both her and I have been sort of tag teaming grants since we had some turnover in October. But we had, an offer out last week. That offer was accepted yesterday, believe it or not, and that person is starting on March 15th. So, even despite that turnover, I've been with Big Brothers Big Sisters for 12 years. And I'm not a fan of submitting late reports or drawdowns. And the CDBG funding is very similar to a lot of our state and federal funding sources that we have. And so we're very familiar with timekeeping and expense reimbursing and QuickBooks tracking and the whole 9 yards. But as far as I know so far, Craig, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, we've been compliant so far with the CARES Act funding reporting that we've had. And if we haven't been, we'll get it corrected as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any further questions? Well, all right then. Ryan, I want to thank you very much for your presentation and have a great day.
Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Norwich first. Fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for waiting. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule.
No worries. My office is right down the hall. If you guys need any coffee or tea, let me know. I can help you out.
So just dive in. Is the clock ticking officially? Okay.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, I'm Kate Mildy. I'm the Director of Human Services for the city. And of course, I have two applications here for Norwich Works and the Housing Assistance Program. Norwich Works is a returning program. But before I dive into the intricacies of my applications, I wanted to talk about like reach and collaboration, because those of course are the themes that come up with this. And in terms of reach, my department, we have three divisions. We have family services that provides basic needs, housing assistance, utility assistance, employment assistance, childcare assistance. We are the barrier eliminators effectively for the city. We also have our youth, family, and recreation division. That includes, of course, summer camps, before care, after care. We work heavily with Norwich Public Schools on a lot of programming. We have mental health clinicians on staff. We have the Juvenile Review Board, which is the Juvenile Justice Diversion Program. And we have our youth employment program there. We have our senior center, of course, as well. That's the third division. And so we provide congregate meals, medical transport, recreational programming, case management, and so much more at the senior center. So in terms of reach, anyone that goes through any client of ours that goes through one of our divisions, and these two applications are specific to my adult and family division. But the clients get the benefit of having the breadth of services that the entire department has. So in terms of intra-departmental collaboration, that's been a priority of mine since I've been director. In terms of collaboration, we as Norwich Human Services are kind of the hub for a lot of these organizations. Almost every applicant on here we partner with, whether it's through our community care team, which is collaborative case management for residents experiencing homelessness. We have about 61 residents in Norwich right now on our outside list. So the need for a housing specialist is unprecedented. It's triple the amount we had this time last year. And in terms of housing, also, we run the housing management team out of my department. That includes the building department, of course, planning. We have our Uncas Health District there, fire marshals there, corporate counsel, and we all collaborate to ensure that if there's a way to avoid a condemnation so that people are not displaced, we do that. If we have to condemn it, then people who are displaced go through the adult and family division. So in terms of having condemnation relocation, that's something that we handle through the housing management team. And we also are approaching systemic change through a client service perspective there. And we've been meeting with state departments to make sure that they, specific to sober houses, align with our building codes so that people in sober houses are, getting legal housing. And so the state's, subsidizing legal housing. Again, these are all things that this housing specialist will help us navigate. And we also have the Fair Rent Commission that's new in the city this year. And all of the Fair Rent Commission, that's right. All of the Fair Rent Commission requests so far have been filtered through the adult and family division. So that's again an administrative lift for us that this housing specialist could help tackle. We also, of course, run the opioid task force for the region and collaborate with Reliance Health heavily and host two of their recovery coaches. And my department helps pay for them through opioid settlement money as well. So in terms of collaboration, we are a hub for the nonprofit work, the social services work that happens for Norwich residents. And Norwich Works is of course uniquely suited because there are other employment programs out there, but they're not necessarily specific to Norwich residents. There's of course the American Job Center, but that's down in Montville now. So it's nice to have a city supported hub within our department where clients can come and get employment navigation, systems navigation support, and of course, Norwich Works provides training dollars for them. One of the things we're doing differently in this request and why we've increased it, we've noticed, of course, the increase in cost of training. The average training program is right around $2,000. So to be able to pay for an entire training program for someone is the difference between them attending, enrolling, engaging, completing the program and not many times. So we've changed the structure a little bit. We want to up the amount that we help each client, which will financially help fewer clients, unfortunately, but we think that the return on investment will improve with that shift. And then in terms of the housing specialist, again, empirical data shows that it is definitely less of a strain on public systems across the board if we can keep people housed. We have a housing crisis in the city and the state. There's over 1,000 residents in Connecticut right now that are unhoused. And again, like I mentioned, having the community care team, the housing management team, and the Fair Rent Commission all filtering through our office, it just makes sense to put the funding where the work is being done. So that's kind of my spiel. Do you guys have any questions for me? Yeah.
Harry, please.
Want to know if you're gonna be requesting any money coming from this.
Yes, so I just actually heard from the comptroller this week. My requests this year include opioid settlement money and cannabis tax dollars. So I'm using that to support a triage worker that we've had to fund with ARPA dollars so far, which is effectively our receptionist at Adult and Family Services, but she's able to do a lot of the systems navigation and diversion. Should we run out of, say, ARPA dollars to help people directly, then she can provide that systems navigation even if we're not able to provide that financial aid. And then we're also supplementing our youth employment program with some of that money. Another couple of changes in our general fund. We are now funding an administrative coordinator in the general fund for the senior center, which did not exist for about 6 years in the general fund. And so we'll have a receptionist and an administrative coordinator now. We are continuing to expand our programs, so we also have an assistant program coordinator on the general fund for recreation.
So you're gonna ask for a specific amount in July, or you just, how are you gonna work that?
So for each position, do you mean, or for this specifically position?
No, well, that was the second part. You're gonna ask for a specific amount from the city of Norwich come July. And the second part, you're gonna use the money just for that opioid and the other thing that you mentioned, or is it gonna be used for a whole bunch of different things?
Yeah, so I asked for staffing for in each division. I'll ask for, say, for this specific division, we have the Adult and Family Services Manager that's general funded, a caseworker that's general funded, the triage worker that's general funded, Norwich Works that would be grant funded, and then hopefully the housing specialist that would be grant funded. And in terms of my ask for direct services to the clients, we generally get around $20,000 a year from the city and the general fund for that. But I didn't put an ask into the city for the general fund for this position because I want to hold on to that triage worker. Did that answer? Okay.
I was looking at your employment case manager and your housing specialist. They both have the exact same salary. Do you have those positions filled? And
So
are these accurate numbers?
yes, and yes, partly. So yes, to employment specialist, and they're, because these are union positions, they're in the AFSCME 2422 union. The union determines the rate of pay. And so that number is specifically pulled from the union contract for next fiscal year. And when we drafted the housing specialist position, we mirrored it off of the employment specialist position so that the union would accept them at the same grade, which would mean the same rate of pay. So that one is vacant. We'll fill it hopefully if you guys fund us.
It looks to me like on your budget information, your direct services to clients is the balance of the $90,000 subtracted by the salary.
Yes.
But over on your budget information, you don't list anything for direct services.
So we were focusing on just specific to Norwich Works. So Norwich Works clients could tap into that $20,000 I have in the general fund, but that's generally not for Norwich Works enrolled clients. If they needed housing assistance or rental assistance, they could be referred from Norwich Works to one of my caseworkers and tap into that $20,000.
I think the final question I have is on efficacy. You say you anticipated on servicing 120,000 for the year. Your actual to date was
120. 120, yeah.
yeah, and your actual to date was 19.
So I actually in the application cleared that discrepancy up, I hoped, but 120 clients are screened. Maybe they're diverted to AJC, maybe they're provided with ECTC, that's a separate funding
Yeah.
for transportation. So maybe they're not getting CDBG funds. So the 19 is the ones that are actually getting the financial aid. But our employment specialist does screen about 100, at least 100 folks a year to see if they qualify, and if they don't, to refer them to other services.
So i.e. the direct services, 20 clients at $2,000 per client.
Perfect. That's, yes,
that's-
I tried
okay.
to make it clear this year.
Just
Yeah.
clearing
Because
my
she will, help 120 people with this funding.
Yeah.
But 20 people only
will fit the mold for CBG.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
So when they come in and they're seen, they're screened,
Mhm.
their income is taken in, all of that
Yes.
stuff is done.
Mhm.
And then they're referred out and you're managing that to make sure that they're following up on what they're doing, correct?
Yes, and
So I guess my point on that is that actually 120 clients are assisted with CDBG funds, not
With-
20.
that's true with staff time.
Correct. So I
Yes,
think,
that's
because
true.
one of the questions I had is when you look at it, you're looking for $95,000 to service 20 people.
Right.
Not a great bang for the
Sure.
buck. 120, little bit bigger
Yeah.
bang for the buck. And I understand what you're saying. Not all of them will get services, but they are getting service.
You're right, yeah.
So I
I
think,
think
that's how I look at it, is that some are
Thank you
gonna
for
go
that.
on to the
We'll take
employment
it.
training, but the others are getting service.
You're right. No,
You
that's a
know,
great assist. Thank you
because
for
it
that.
takes people to provide a service.
Definitely.
I just wanted to-
You got to screen them.
Right, and that's why I say, and you're referring them out to other services, so
Mhm.
you're doing the case management work on it. It's just so
Definitely.
it's not 20 people. I think that was my,
No, good point.
Yeah, and that's why we
Thing on
do
it.
note the 120, because we wanted to at least capture other work
Correct.
is happening.
right, so I
Yeah.
think it's, important to understand that there's a lot of work that goes before the final
Yes,
piece that happens.
super, thank you for that.
Okay. And then I had another one under the HAP program, and this is when you're looking for the housing provider, which clearly there's a problem in the city, we know nationally, we know that. Program uniqueness under B2, you had made a statement under there that you should be the central organization. And I was looking for more of an explanation on that, only because we fund other places to
Yep.
do housing services, and I know that you guys collaborate together.
Mhm.
But it's sort of like, should we be looking at one place to sort of have that be where people go? Or, I've talked to a couple of different service providers too, who are like, well, we want to get this money. I'm like, we'll talk to Norwich Human Services. And I keep saying, talk to Norwich Human Services. Martin House made a case for it. CCA makes a case for it. You make a case for it. Where's the,
Right.
I'm sort of like, I know there's a can't, what's happening?
Sure. Well, yes. So I'd say first, in terms of the that's the coordinated access
Mhm.
network. So when folks call 211 and they enroll in homelessness services, they get entered into a system we call HMIS, and that's how we process collaborative case management for them. And so the hub for that work is the community care team, and that is run by our adult and family division. So we keep a list of people that are inside, outside, maybe are on the way outside, and we have every single person tracked, where they're getting services, where they are in the process of getting housed. We track all of that, and because we run that and we're the hub, folks do come to us for those things. And we do work with, of course, TVCCA. We work with Thames River Family Program. Madonna Place is a subrecipient of our ARPA dollars. So we're already in the practice of partnering with nonprofits that do similar work to us, but we have an accountability edge. We have the fact that we're a hub to other organizations doing similar work. That again, that does make us unique because we've already developed a model to be the hub and provide those services and outsource where maybe there's need we can't necessarily meet. And in terms of the overall budget for the city, general nonprofit requests for social services used to go to the city manager. Now they're going to my office. So when nonprofits ask the city for money, it's going to go onto my budget anyway. So it's a natural development to centralize some of these services when we have developed best practices and, you know, paved the way for this work to be seamless.
So you're working with the CAN,
Oh, yes.
you're working with the CAN,
Mhm.
and you're gonna do permanent supportive housing then too, as well?
Yes, that's our goal, is to get them, we already do shallow rent subsidies for
What is
people. So, that's like generally around a couple $100s a month. Say if somebody hits hardship and they need just that little extra help until they get back on their feet. We do an intake process with them. We develop a case plan with them. We say, you do this and we'll help with this. We also work with NPU and we have a matching payment plan for utilities. So NPU sends us a list of folks who are behind on their bills. We reach out to them and try and enroll them in a matching payment plan to prevent them from having a shut off, because if they have a shut off, then their bill's exorbitant and they're never gonna get out from under it. So we have these plans in place, these collaborative case management programs in place already to be the best folks to administer funds. And we can ensure with these partners that their own needs are being met, because we're doing that already, making them subrecipients of our own ARPA dollars and incorporating them into my city budget.
You're not duplicating any of the COCs that are out there that might be doing permanent supportive housing.
And that's, I think, why the community care team work is so important. Because we can prevent efforts being duplicated. And we can also, you know, share client information, so we're good stewards of the funding we get, to make sure that there's no duplication, no double dipping, no you know, extra effort that's unnecessary.
And the only other comment I would have would be, again, the 200 come in, 50 actually get assistance, but really those 200 are case managed mostly. Very few aren't going to need something.
Right.
So, you know, usually they're coming in, maybe you find them money someplace else, you know.
Definitely. And, you know, they get assisted with the CDBG money, but then they come to us.
Right.
And it's not just specific to what you guys are funding. They tap into
Correct.
everything we're able to offer. From, you know, birth all the way through the cycle of life. If someone comes in and has a housing issue, the housing specialist says, oh, you have a teenager? Well, we have a youth internship program. You know, then the wheels just keep turning. It's a snowball effect when they start with us. So it just, again, it makes sense for them to come to us because we're the hub, because we're so interconnected with community partners, and because we have a robust offering within our own department. So they don't just get the case managers, they get, you know, division managers, they get me, they get a whole lot of help when they come to us.
Thank you, Kate.
All right, well, thank you.
Does anyone have any further questions?
I have a couple of fun little flyers for Norwich Works, if you guys are interested too.
Thank you.
And if. So if you need some tea or something,
See.
last call for tea. My office. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Immigration Advocacy and Support Center. I see Kathy Parker and Jessica Richardson.
Yes.
Who joined us. Thank you for waiting. Appreciate your time.
Hi, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Yes.
My name is Jessica Richardson. I am the very new immigration lawyer and executive director of the Immigration Advocacy and Support Center, also known as IASC. Because I am so new, I'm going to give you a kind of general overview of the work that we do and leave some time to answer questions that you may have for both myself and for Kathy. We appreciate these opportunities to share with you the work that we're currently doing. For many immigrants, the U.S. is the best hope for safety and opportunity. But because the U.S. immigration system is dysfunctional, navigating that system without expert help and adequate funding is very difficult. IASC provides immigrants with access to services, and we are the only organization in Southeast Connecticut that makes that affordable to all who need it, which is really important. The funding from this application and other donors allows us to charge only $25 for initial consultations, and that's really low when you compare it to what you would have to pay if you were going to any private attorney. And we also offer a sliding scale for casework such as new green cards, green card renewals, and citizenship applications. IASC gives Norwich residents their best shot at success and allows them to conserve financial resources for other basic necessities such as food, housing, and healthcare. I think some of the other descriptions of the other organizations that you've heard from tonight really, that's where the money's going to be able to afford housing, to be able to afford food, to be able to afford just basic needs for them and their family. And we really believe that helping immigrants become citizens, we strengthen our community. And so it's really a holistic approach. I've only been on the job, it'll be a month tomorrow, but we've already, been able to provide a presentation to 90 students at the Norwich Adult Education. We've also, after a brief period of not being able to provide consultations, have started scheduling consultations again, and we're fully booked through March and into April, which is very exciting. I think now that we are back in operating, we've seen a lot of excitement, a lot of interest. We've had people come in and walk in and are inquiring about the services that we're offering. I have been an attorney for 10 years now. I started in a solo practice. I then moved to a nonprofit in Westchester County called My Sister's Place, and we did immigration services for domestic violence survivors as well as human trafficking survivors. And I was the managing attorney before coming to IASC. And so I have a wealth of knowledge in the area of immigration, and bringing that to IASC, as well as really my priority here is growth. Knowing that IASC is really the only service organization that provides these services to this area, I think it's really important that we really focus on growing what we do to be able to provide those services to as many people as we can. Norwich has a population of about 40,000. 14% of those individuals weren't born here in the United States. That's a large number. And many of those individuals don't have the finances to pay for a private attorney. And we are their only stop to be able to access the legal resources and the path to become U.S. citizens. And we know the benefits when someone is able to get a work permit, when someone becomes a U.S. citizen, is able to engage in the community, and it provides it can only add to the community when individuals who are coming here from other countries are engaged. I think also the need for immigration legal services is growing and is only going to continue to grow. So it's imperative that IASC, as the only low-cost provider in the state, grows with the need. So I just want to thank you guys for your support. And if we can answer any questions that you have, we'll be happy to do so.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have one.
Kathy.
It's Kathy. Last year, the projected service number was 20, this year 52. Why such an increase?
I think what we're trying to do, we're looking to hire 2 new paralegals. I think my knowledge into different areas of immigration is going to increase the number of cases that we can take. We're really kind of pushing growth, and I think that's once information gets out, once people are aware that we are up and running, we're going to see an increase in those numbers, and so that accounts for that jump.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. How do you all verify Norwich residency?
So that's a question that we're asking on our intake form. It's also really important that when we're completing these applications, that they're providing their accurate address. And that's something that we stress to them at the intake stage and throughout the process of completing those applications. USCIS, DHS, and ICE officials often do house checks when they're completing those applications. And so it's only in the client's best interest to provide their accurate address. And so if they're telling us that they're living in Norwich, that's one of the first steps in verifying. A lot of individuals also have just ID cards that has their address on it. They receive mail to their house address with their name on it. And so there's different ways that you can verify, but realistically, it's only in the client's best interest to tell us their accurate address.
Appreciate that. Regardless of how beneficial your program is and the services you provide, we still have to ensure that the funding is applied in compliance with federal guidelines. And so that would be for applying services to Norwich residents specifically. They would have to be, the main recipients. So I guess my question really is in terms of the follow through and the tracking, in terms of what percentage, like how can you, at the end of the day, how would you be able to show that the CDBG funding went to X percentage of Norwich residents? Really start to finish, if you're looking at, passing an audit as well and saying, let's look at how these funds were applied. It's not to question what you do, it's just a tracking of it. But I understand that you do provide services to a variety of residents. Not all of them would be from the city of Norwich. So we just want to ensure that we would have some clear visibility on that from start to finish in terms of the funding.
Yep, let's say at the beginning, they're indicating that they are a Norwich resident, which we can verify through mail, which is similar to what you would do at the DMV. To provide your address, you would bring a piece of mail to prove that that is your address. If at any point, let's say a Norwich resident who we're serving, who we're verifying we're using those CBDG funds for that resident, let's say they then move to a new location, new town within the state of Connecticut, or move out of state. The federal government also requires that that individual update their address within 10 days of their move, or 5 days if they're within immigration court. And so we would be able to track any movements throughout the course of filing an application if an individual did move outside of Norwich. And one of the things that I've brought to IASK is, or not brought to, it was already here, but we're kind of using it better, is the e-immigration, which is a case management system. And so we would input that data and update any address changes. And obviously that would be reflected, and we wouldn't report that client in our quarterly reports or reporting period as being a consistent Norwich resident if they've moved out of state. Or the
What
town.
percentage of the population so far? I mean, I know that as it grows and as you support that, you don't have necessarily control over who walks through your doors, but so far on average, what percentage of the residents that you serve live in Norwich?
So I'm gonna pass that to get a specific number to Kathy, but just kind of off the top of my head as a immediate number that I can give you is just referencing back to that that presentation that we just did at the Norwich Adult Education, there were 90 individuals that we gave a presentation to on just one single day, and that is just one class semester. And that semester changes regularly throughout the year. So that's 90 people in just one classroom throughout the year. And so I think that number is going to grow. I think one of the things that maybe we can improve on, and something that is on our radar, is advocacy within Norwich, getting our name out there, making sure that individuals have access. We've also done, instead of just consultations in our office in person, we've done virtual consultations, which will allow us to expand the number of individuals that we're serving, because a lot of people don't have the ability to access transportation to get to our office. And so Kathy can give you a specific number, but I think that number would be conservative, and I would only anticipate that that number grows, given the fact that the numbers would indicate that there's, upwards of 4,000 people right now who aren't born here in the United States living in Norwich, and that, or 1,400 people, and there are people who are coming here every day, and there's no reason not to think that they would come to a city like Norwich. But if you have that number.
What I think I heard you say at first was sort of a percentage, and I would say that our clientele last year, so last year at the beginning of the year, there was an immigration ruling that was actually specific to it impacted a lot of Haitians. And so at the beginning of the year, our split was roughly 50% Norwich area residents and 50% New London area residents. And then within that, most of the Norwich area residents are Norwich City. Some of the New London area residents are from surrounding towns that are considered part of that area. Later in the year, the percentage slipped, and we were seeing fewer Haitians as a percentage. It was more like 30% and 70%. Part of that may have also been because our Haitian Creole paralegal went on maternity leave. And we do anticipate for this year that the numbers are going to be more even. And then every once in a while, we've been getting folks from beyond sort of that service area, but that's really where the majority of our clients are coming from.
Thank you. Any further questions? I'm just chilly, so I'm just going to put that down. Well, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Jessica and Kathy.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
James River?
Hello, hi, I'm Yuda. How are you? Can everyone hear me fine?
We can hear you great. We're running a little behind schedule, so why don't we just have you start off? We appreciate you being here. Take it away.
Yep, thank you so much. I wanted to talk about the program that we have. I'm Thamesor Community Service, and we run a transitional housing program for families, young families within the age of 18 to 24-year-olds. They stay with us for a period of a year due to our HUD contract, and while they're with us for the year, we're working with them on housing, we're working with them on employment, which is what we're looking for funding for, and all sorts of wraparound services, whether it's securing healthcare, because they're families, we're working and trying to get their kids in daycare so that they can go to work. We're doing employment services with them, helping them understand how to formulate and write a resume. Of course, when you're working with 18 to 24-year-olds, a lot of them do not have employment history. So we're working with them on establishing that, going back to school, finishing up their GED, or looking into secondary school, college education, and anything else they may need. A lot of our residents that are with us are also dealing with mental health diagnoses that we're also working around, as well as, trying to get them employed. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Any questions from the podium?
Norwich residents do you serve?
Well, we're based in Norwich, so all of our residents are living in our transitional housing program, and we see 45 families annually.
Giving everyone a chance to flip through to make sure that their questions have been answered.
Yeah.
Um,
So could you do a better breakdown on the budget part of it? Only because when I look at what is being put as the CDBG portion of salary, I only come up with about $19,000 in salary, and yet it's saying 25,000 is supported. So just to sort of balance that out to say which one it is.
Well,
And then
us-
another says 17.5, so I don't know.
Somebody's presenting.
Maybe that's right.
What page are you looking at, just so I can flip to it?
I could be wrong. It's page 14 to 15, so maybe it's okay.
It's right on the support and revenue.
Yeah, I think I have it.
Budget information page.
It's very close, so I think it's fine.
Okay.
Just a quick question for the committee and the director. If you have some follow-up questions during the next few days, we can reach out.
If you
And
reach
get
out
some
to
further-
Sandra or Craig, they'll make sure that those questions go out to the
Yes,
recipients,
good, excellent.
not to me.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate your time.
Yes. we
Thank
are.
you.
Not to
Being
me.
here this evening. Thank you for community service.
That's TVCCA.
Homelessness program.
We're another acronym. You haven't.
There we
Confused
are.
for a second.
There you are, finally ready.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm some familiar faces. Good to see you all. John
Just-
Paul Director of,
I want to introduce you to Craig Kleeman. He is the new Community Development Director.
good to meet you. Welcome to the local. So yeah, I'm John Paul Mealenberg, Director of Housing at TVCCA. And I'll keep my pitch brief. I know you guys are thorough to review the applications, but in short, we are seeking funding for our homeless prevention diversion program. A program that works to keep people at risk of homelessness or already homeless from staying in this situation by mitigating their housing crisis or helping them to become rehoused as quickly as possible. And we do this in partnership, like some of our other folks you heard from tonight, with our local coordinated access network, our local community, and through referrals from the community and even within our own agency. And do that by, again, addressing those crises to hopefully prevent folks from becoming homeless. And we do this within kind of the broader perspective, broader portfolio of services we offer as the local community action agency. Kind of broad scope what the program entails, and happy to answer questions, give greater detail if needed.
So are you using the CAN system then, not 211 and HMIS and all that?
We do all that. This program is aimed at kind of serving obviously local Norwich households to prevent them from entering a state of homelessness or rapidly housing them. But we also offer HUD and state funded permanent supported housing programs, some rapid rehousing programs, and then a lot of peripheral services aimed at financial and service needs, whether it be WIC, energy assistance within our other portfolio.
One-stop shop.
That's our aim as a community action agency. We do work in collaboration with other local entities like Norwich Human Services. And we recognize that we're really good at a lot of stuff, but we may not be the best provider of, say, mental health intervention. And so we seek to maintain working relationships with Reliance Health, local local providers, sound community for those services that are a little more specialized and tailored to the needs. Yeah.
How many people are you assisting? It's not the application.
Oh, I don't think we included that, so I
No,
think.
it's not.
That's
That's kind of key.
Yeah. So. I think for.
You can get back to us. You don't have to
Yeah,
have
we
it.
can, and I apologize.
You
You'll note that, I think in years past, we served between 10 and 12 households directly out of these funds. Broad strokes, we serve a lot of Norwich residents. Our primary office location for services is here in Norwich on Uncas on the Thames campus. And in last program year, we served 24 in Norwich through some of these funds. So
Great.
our ask is increased since years past, which is worth noting. So we would seek to serve more houses than in years past, while recognizing also that the cost per household has increased with the market as it is. And also recognizing that statewide, some distribution of direct client service funds have decreased that we manage in-house pretty significantly. And in response to that, we want to make sure that we're equipped to still have sufficient resources to serve the local households in Norwich.
So this is part of the application that chart needs to be filled out. Okay,
that too,
we don't
yeah.
have that. It's on part 6B outcome example, and that would put how many people you're serving.
I can certainly get that to you, Kathy.
Okay, you'll get it to Sandra, or I'm at this meeting and then
You're
I'm
right.
out.
That's right.
The baton has been will be handed over and.
We have her cell phone. We'll forward it to you.
I'm sure, and home address, yeah.
Man,
Any other questions?
I'm actually retiring again.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madonna, please.
Do we have anybody? Oh, there's Claire. Yep. Hi, Claire.
Hello, how are you?
Thanks for being here. We're interested to hear your presentation. You have the floor.
I think it should hear you.
Claire, you can just give us a, quick summary of your application, and then we can ask questions.
Sure, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, yeah, I didn't hear from the beginning. So thank you for considering our application for funding for the COPE program. COPE is Community Outreach Plus Education. This is our newest program. We started October of 22. The program is right at the Main Street address. So easy access for families right off of the bus line. We completely appreciate the program year 49 funding that we received. COPE provides assessments, referrals, case management, advocacy, and education. Madonna Place in general works with low-income, vulnerable families throughout Eastern Connecticut. A majority of those families are from Norwich, and our COPE program works with families that are in crisis, usually domestic violence, homelessness, substance use, mental health issues, and any combination of those issues. Care is provided in a trauma-informed manner, meaning that we understand many of the families have probably experienced some sort of abuse or violence in their past, and then we use care to not trigger that trauma response and make sure we create a very safe environment for them. some of the education that we offer. We have a woman coming from the Connecticut Fair Housing the end of March to talk about fair housing. We are going to be implementing Circle of Security for our Norwich families. And then we also partner with OIC, so they provide classes for Norwich domestic violence offenders. So as long as they complete the 9 weeks of training, they hopefully will avoid being incarcerated. I think that's a pretty good overview.
A quick question, if I may, which is also, I'm gonna phrase it like an assumption. I would basically assume, considering that the services you provide, one thing that sets you apart from so many is because you do offer these drop-in services, unlike others that you may need to set up an appointment, whatnot, but people can literally just have this immediate drop-in assistance right there. And you do say that then you do work with a network for referral. Out there, you already have, I'm assuming you already have an established network of referral using, because the thing is that we see a lot of organizations that provide very similar and overlapping systems of support. And something that I think is a real benefit is when one works collaboratively together and not in a silo. And so I guess what I'm looking for, I'm assuming that you would already, because you've already been, you've been around for 30 years. You know the players out there, and you have numbers to call. Who do you typically work with, for example, to put somebody in that may need more than just that initial drop in visit and the service that you can provide those initially? Where would they be referred to? Do you refer them to Norwich Works? Do you refer them to? Just talk to me a bit about just. I guess what I'm interested in is a collaborative. How you collaborate with other service providers out there.
Sure. Yeah, we are not in any sort of competition to keep the clients to ourselves. There's plenty of clients to go around. So we look at it as anything we can provide in-house, fantastic. But we also look at it as any services that we don't provide, we want to get them services as fast as we possibly can. So if they have mental health issues, if they have medical issues, so we routinely will refer to Generations, UCFS, Reliance Health, Norwich Human Services, of course. But we pretty much are working with as many agencies as we can, but really fine tuning it. So if we know it's a mental health issue, we're trying to get the client assessed, but then also the care. Unfortunately, there's huge waiting lists everywhere you go. So someone who could be in mental health crisis, and it could be a 3-month waiting list. It could be, we've even heard of 8-month waiting lists. So what we're doing is we're supporting them until they can see a professional a lot of times. And then just really doing that advocacy work of, hey, we tried to get an appointment for this person. They still haven't been seen. Can we get them an appointment sooner than later? And we're involved in a few different coalitions across the region. So for housing, we're on a few different committees with United Way. We are on the Alliance for home visiting. So as an agency, we definitely are partnering with all these different other nonprofits as well.
Any questions from the committee? Well, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your presentation, Claire.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.
Take care. Safe Futures?
Hello.
Can you all hear us?
Futures. Hello?
Can they hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time. We'd like to have you give us a quick presentation, please.
Hi. Well, thank you for having us and thank you for the support you've given us in the past. I'm Margaret Susoff from Safe Futures. I'm Chief Operating Officer, and also with me is Marie Kenny, who's client of Director of Client Access, and also Kevin Barney, who's our Law Enforcement Advocate Coordinator, and they'll both be speaking as well. But I just wanted to, again, overview of Safe Futures. We are a domestic violence service provider. We serve all southeastern Connecticut. We serve over 10,000 victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and trafficking a year. We do, in Norwich, we have many services. The big change for us in this past year is that we did close our Norwich office for counseling, which was located on Main Street. We closed that in June of 2023, and really due to, since COVID, we had it was very slow, very few number of people were using the office. So we did close it, but we are also, we have a site on Cliff Street, Katie Blair House, and we do see people there. That's open, you know, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We also, of course, we provide court support services in the Norwich Court, which Marie will talk about, but we do see clients there for counseling. Our counselors from New London have gone there, and we're talking with Bacchus Hospital about having, being available there 2 to 3 days a week. So although we don't have our office anymore, we are definitely serving the residents of Norwich in many ways. And with the counseling, I mean, our hotline is available 24/7, and our counseling office in New London is available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But as I said, if it's a Norwich resident or in the Norwich area, you know, we will meet them where it's possible. We do appointments over the phone, we do virtual, and of course, if they couldn't get to our counseling office, we would provide transportation. So that's really the big change, I would say, is the closing of our counseling office. But you know, I don't think with that, we're not serving the residents of Norwich in any, you know, I don't think that it's been affected in that way. So I'll let Marie talk about the court services we provide.
Thank you. So in the courts, things are still pretty much where they had grown to over COVID. So about 37% of all the criminal court cases in Norwich are domestic violence related. We have 2 full-time and a 3-day-a-week advocate in the courts. So they take they work with the victim in the case from arraignment through disposition and then beyond, also connecting the victims to additional services here at Safe Futures. So they'll let that victim know what court dates are coming up, whether or not the victim needs to be there. If the victim would like to have some input but doesn't need to be there, the advocate can speak on behalf of the victim in certain circumstances. We also facilitate victims applying for victim compensation programs for out-of-pocket expenses as a result of the crime against them. And Norwich, we also, our advocates do the criminal cases. Between Norwich and New London Court, we average about 5,000 cases a year that our advocates are kind of facilitating. And then in addition to that, in Norwich, our advocates support victims who are applying for civil restraining orders in the civil court. And also are sometimes available when asked to accompany victims. We can't provide advocacy in the same way in the civil court, but we can be there to support victims who are going through family court processes. So we can provide support and help them understand what to expect through the civil court process. We also, what did I just say the name of? Oh, the education. Oh, and we host a group. So from time to time, there are arrests where someone is arrested for a crime involving domestic violence, but upon review and assessment, family relations believes that the person who has been charged is really a victim of ongoing domestic violence. And so the typical diversionary program for a domestic violence offender in family relations estimation doesn't make sense. So they get referred to a course that we host here called Alternative Education for a Safe Future, where it helps those who have these pending charges understand the dynamics of domestic violence, risks, and kind of safety planning, things like that, so that we can reduce the likelihood that they would stay in an abusive relationship, which is what caused them to be involved with the criminal justice system. We hosted it in the fall. We had 5 participants, and they were all from the Norwich Port catchment area. And so some of our, you're going to talk about LAP, right?
Yes.
Okay, so and some of our advocates, we get involved with cases through the lethality assessment program, but Kevin's going to be able to talk in greater detail about that.
My name is Kevin Barney, and I've been at Safe Futures here for almost 4 years. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with over 40 years' experience, 27 of which I spent in the city of New London. But I know very, very well many of the Norwich police officers because I've worked with them, because back in the 90s, we had a grant for the four city program of four cities were involved. Norwich and New London were the 2 biggest cities. So I've come to know them very well up there, and every month I go and see, well, actually 4 times a month, I go and see Officer Bly. She is the DV liaison for the Norwich Police Department. Officer Bly provides me with all the police reports involving domestic violence for the city of Norwich. And I go back to my days as a supervisor, I read every one of them. So I go through them thoroughly, and I just go through to follow up with all these cases, as many as I can, to try and assist. The big thing I want to try and do is make the victims safe and to not to repeat occurrences is in the home. But mostly one of the things I get calls for all the time when I speak into victims is their hesitancy to call the police, and I try to reassure them the police are there to help them, not to be the enemy. So I want to instill that into many of our victims, that police are there, and I try, having my experience as a law enforcement officer here in Connecticut, I want to make sure they understand why the police did what they did, and if necessary, help the police provide the evidence necessary. This happens in a lot of cases where arrests are not made. So I contact Officer Bly many times, and I see her at least once a week. A little bit about this lethality assessment program that it was instituted in the state of Connecticut about 12 years ago. Norwich and New London were 2 of the primary beginning programs in the state. Now all 192 police departments in the state are required to do it. Came out of Maryland by Dr. Campbell. And what it was designed to do was to try to target those individuals who, through this 11-question screening that the officer does at domestic violence calls, and that with that screening, try to assess the highest danger and also prevent homicides and any serious offenses from occurring in the future. The city of Norwich, and I compiled all the LAP data, and I went back as far as 1 year since the last time we met, and came up there in person. And so during the 12-month period, there was 193 laps that were screenings that were conducted by the Norwich police officers, and 101 of those were classified as high danger, which means there was serious risk of homicide or serious injury for that client. This was based upon the answers that are provided on that 11-question screening and the officer's belief that maybe this will be a potential for high danger in the future. That's over 50% of the calls for that laps were performed were high danger. Out of those calls, out of those 101 high danger calls, 94 victims in the city of Norwich were received 93% of them received services. So out of the total, because there's 3 categories it breaks down to, there's a high danger, non-high danger, and a refuse to answer. Many of those people that refuse to answer are male, unfortunately. And out of the calls I had in the 193 laps, very few of them, I would say close to 98% of them are all residents of the city of Norwich. So out of those 193 calls, 152, God, I can't even talk, I'm sorry. 152 victims received services from Safe Futures. And when I say receive services, that comes from not only just a hotline advocate, it comes from the court advocates, it comes from the counseling and advocacy advocate here at Safe Futures. And there are many services involved, going in the range of providing safe housing all the way down to money, assistance, phones, and everything. Officer Belay has in the past provided me with cell phones, which I brought to Safe Futures. So getting back to that 193 calls, 152 victims received these services, and that's 80% of the victims in the city of Norwich received services from out of this LAP program. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. What questions does the committee have? All right, well, if we do have any follow-up questions, we'll be sure to reach out to you, and I really appreciate your time and your presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Do we have United Way with us?
Are you United Way? Wow.
So you were hiding behind the counter there.
Oh, they've already,
Yeah.
they came in early, so we said, okay.
Yeah.
Should I just start? I've never done that.
Please do.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm Annie Stockton. I'm the Vice President of the Gemma E. Moran United Way Labor Food Center, and we're located in New London, but we serve all of New London County. So I'd love to give you, I don't know if any of you know, but I'd love to give you a little history of our food center. So we started in 1988, and not just because I work there, but I really believe it's really a special place. We are essentially a food bank for New London County. And the reason I say it's special is because it's really not common for a county to have a food bank. I mean, there's statewide food banks in Connecticut, but there's not really a food bank in a county. So it's really special that New London County has a really localized place where programs can access food. So for example, there's a statewide food pantry in Manchester, but you have to drive to Manchester to get the food. So for food pantries that are around here, to be able to have to drive every week to Manchester to get food is really not feasible for a lot of these programs that are run really by volunteers. So I just think it's special that as a county, we have this resource. And also it's not common for United Way to run a food bank either. I mean, I think we're the only United Way in the world that actually has a food bank. So that's special. So it came out of Electric Boat in 1988. There was a strike. There's a union strike. So striking workers, United Way recognized that there's folks here that need food that never thought they would need food, right? Because they have good paying jobs at Electric Boat, and all of a sudden they're striking and they're not getting a paycheck and they need food. So it started out as United Way invested $5,000, and it was actually the striking workers that helped build the food bank. And the state gave us space at Uncle Thames campus. And we started this small food bank that supported 5 local pantries, and then it grew from there and grew and grew. We actually moved to the Norwich State Hospital, and we were the last tenants of the Norwich State Hospital before it officially closed down, until in 1998, when we were able to get space in the warehouse we have now located in New London. So I just think it's special because it really came from a community need and was built with the community. So it's a very community-based food bank. And we applied for funding this year because we have really seen, I mean, I'm sure other folks are speaking about this too, but the need for food has just grown exponentially. And I think everyone here would understand that just by going to the grocery store and seeing what groceries cost right now. And then you take that and add the increase in oil, the increase in rent. I mean, you add all that up and folks are showing up at food pantries that never needed to show up before. I can tell you that at least 40% of the folks that are coming to food pantries right now are working. So they're working during the day and then they're coming to our food pantries at night, because even though they're working full time, they need to find somewhere that they can get some relief so they can pay that electric bill and pay the rent, right? So they come to get food from one of our pantries. So we're just seeing this growing need for food in the community, and our role with all of these Norwich pantries. So there's 16 food pantries in Norwich that we support. So Martin House is one of them, Thames River Community Service is one of them, Madonna Place is one of them. Like a lot of these organizations, they shop every week at our food bank for the food for their food pantries. So when, you know, supporting and using CDBG funds to be able to bring food into our food bank is really supporting 16 different food pantries in Norwich. And something we've done over the past year is really look at, okay, where are there areas with high rates of food insecurity that we're not hitting that we should be? So within the past year, we opened a food pantry at Veterans Rally Point, which is located in Norwich at the industrial park. And we've opened a food pantry collaboratively with Bacchus Hospital. So folks that are either in the ER or they've been at the hospital for a while and they're going home and they know they're going home to no food, Bacchus can send them home with a bag of groceries when they go back home. We also opened a new food pantry at Thames River Family Program, or Thames River Community Service. So that's really hitting young families, right? And we know that actually single family households with children, female-led, 82% of families in New London County who are, like, have high rates they experience food insecurity. So we've tried to add resources in Norwich where we know that there are high rates of need this past year. So we're also we also know that, like, there's not this infinite amount of money in the world to keep buying more and more food. So we know that just creating more and more pantries isn't the solution to ending hunger or ending food insecurity. So something else we're doing, actually, funnily enough, there was an article today in the bulletin about this. We just started meeting with the pantries in Norwich together because we know that, like, we're not going to solve this individually. And like I said, we know that there's just not, like, money everywhere to grow pantries. So what can we do collectively? So we met with 11 different pantries last week to start talking about, okay, if you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing this, how can we collectively share our resources to figure out how to best do this together? So, like, the food pantry at Three Rivers really talked about, well, I have a pool of volunteers, and if you need volunteers at your pantries, I could help you with that. You know, and then the pantry at Madonna Place said, you know, we just started a really cool way of data collection for the pantry. So if you guys are struggling with data collection, we can help you with that. So it was cool to see how, even though we're all struggling to pool the resources we need, we're all trying to come together to provide what we can. So we're working collectively in Norwich as one food system so we can really help each other out. Yeah, and this funding would really help us to purchase food for these pantries. And what's nice about it is in the food banking world, you get what you get. So if someone donates something, that's what you get. And when you have a pool of money where you can purchase the food, it's nice because you can get that food that people need. So if people need protein, or if people need dairy, or, you know, whatever it is that people need, we can purchase, not just give people what was donated to us, but we can pick out the food that people need to eat or want to eat and make sure they're getting the healthy food, the eggs, the dairy, the meat, you know, what they need to really make a healthy, you know, a meal that will really sustain it.
Well, I
Thank you.
do.
Any questions?
So the biggest question is going to be CDBG funds have to benefit low and moderate income Norwich residents. A lot of these places service people in the region. How do we guarantee that these funds are going to low mod income Norwich residents? Is there an intake done for each and every person that takes food from one of these sites?
So that is something that we are capable of doing. So the reason, we didn't include on this application all 72 of our programs, even
Mhm.
though we know that Norwich residents are going to programs in New London and Montville and Griswold,
They go
right?
around, yep.
But we really limited this application to our partners in Norwich who, and I don't know if you can see, but like most of these programs are really, they're already serving folks that they know, so they already are doing intakes on them and they know their information, and if they don't, they can collect it. So we wanted to really take this funding and focus it on the pantries that are located in Norwich, serving Norwich residents that do sort of quote unquote intakes on their families. So
Are
we
you
can
going to
track
collect
this.
those intakes from them?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because, from a monitoring standpoint, from the office, we're not going out to these 16 pantries. We're gonna come to you because we fund you and say, we want to see these intake forms and all of that.
Yeah.
So we'd have to have that in place.
All right, what kind of paper trail and tracking can you provide so that it would be provided to an audit, and add an audit so that, federal CDBG program, they can take a look at it and they can say, okay, this money did go to support. How can you track and divide that so that you know that the funds would go to be supporting food for one of these 16?
Yeah,
pantries?
I mean, we can do,
That's specific. I don't know if you do that, but if you can do that, that's pretty specific, because even if we might really appreciate what you do and want to support it, if you can't provide that trail, it would be very hard for us to recommend funding it.
yeah, we received this funding a few years ago. I know I wasn't working here at the time, but we received it a few years ago and we were able to do that with our partner agencies. So it's just a matter of, and like I said, most of them aren't collecting the data when their folks come in. So it's a matter of, getting a unified form and just asking our partners to be able to do that, which they did it last time we received the funding. So it will not be a problem to ask them to do that again. And I have to say, if there's a program that opts out and says, that's not the way we collect data, then, they would make sure that we were giving you to the programs that collect the data that you need.
And maybe Kathy will correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't number 16, Three Rivers Community College Full Plate Food Pantry ask for CBDG funds last year, and we rejected their application because they could not break down the Norwich residents out of the people that they serve.
I don't know. I wasn't here for that.
Was it?
Wasn't here. I don't know.
Oh, you weren't here?
No.
Oh, that's right. It was.
Yeah,
it
you
was
had
Sydney.
it.
Yeah, well, you,
Yes, we were here, but I don't know that it applies to.
Right, so maybe that's.
well, this is one of her,
Yeah, I wasn't here either. And actually, there's a new person that's running the full plate pantry at Three Rivers now. So again, we listed on here all of our Norwich partners.
Exactly.
And we would explain the rules of what they would have to do to access this funding. And we would make sure that they were all using the intake. And if it's not something that they're capable of managing, then we would make sure the food goes to the pantries that are capable of doing that paperwork.
Right, because the concern would be, you drop off X, they only have 2 or 3 customers that are saying they're from Norwich, and where's the rest of the food going? So it kind of has to balance out.
Yeah, and like I said, like we're meeting with our pantries regularly, so I mean, we know, we have these conversations, we know who's capable of, doing data collection, and we check in on them, and they're already giving us data each month anyway, so I mean, we have a system in place where we're already tracking their data, so this isn't like reinventing a wheel or creating something new for us. Or for them.
I mean, the ones you have that say open to the public, that might be a problem because people might come from Colchester or something like that, but you are doing Martin House, you are doing Thames River. So all those say futures, all those funds, all that food goes to people from Norwich because they're based locally. I mean, other people aren't coming to Martin House and Thames River and accessing the food, right? So those are ones you could do. in terms of those, but.
Well, Safe Futures, I don't know, because again, they're located in New London.
Well, St. Vincent de Paul is open to the public and
No, but I'm like saying with Safe Futures, they're located in New London, and I know that they have homes where they have people, but those aren't necessarily Norwich people.
But at the same time, those organizations probably do have a tracking mechanism to say, you know, X percentage of people we service come from Norwich. I mean, if they can provide something like that as well too, because they have an idea of their own clientele.
Yeah.
So as long as you understand the issues that, you know, that confront us, maybe you could look into that and you could just get back to us with just an idea of what you would propose at some point to, you know, to go ahead and track that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do that because we still have the form that we used when we received CDBG funding last time to do this. So.
That was COVID, right?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
COVID, right?
Yeah, but we did track, we have a tracking form that we had those agencies complete that were accessing the funds. Yeah, and like you said, like Safe Futures, we, you know, like they talk about, like, we have X number of people in Norwich, you know, these agencies do, they do track the folks that they are serving, so they know where they're living. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any further questions?
My notes and stuff too, I'm just gonna say.
Thank you.
They're
very
not,
much.
I mean,
Thank
some are here, some are here, some are there, but I don't know if it's helped you put stuff together at all. I'll give it to you anyway.
McDonald's. is that it?
Not too bad, guys, not too bad. I went through quite a few and, you know, I mean, you still have other business, Jenna, if you want to see if there's any other.
You know, I mean, honestly, with the little technical difficulties that.
Yeah.
Frankly, you know, we're looking probably 10 minutes off.
I have to be a jack of all trades.
Can you tell us what you did so we know next time?
Yes, I changed the speaker at the bottom of the Zoom, so where the microphone is, just adjust the speaker to be the outsource of the TV,
Love it.
which is the computer.
Thank
I
you.
was
About
actually-
the same page.
Huh?
I was actually watching it too.
So
here.
here's on this via TV.
It was actually the TV that.
Got it.
The Zoom.
Thank you.
Everybody has to remember for next time.
Right. So the next meet, well, just other business, the next meeting is March 5th. I think Cindy's gonna try to schedule it at 5:30 and make it,
Can we start at 5:30?
right, because I know that's a concern for you.
4:45 would be really good.
And I was trying to get out early.
It should be
today, but
short.
I've taken on a new role at the state and it's.
Of course you have. So you only have three next week, basically,
And I'm the
anyway.
Director.
So-
you're the Chairperson.
In public assistance now, so, just
That was
good.
a nice move, by the way.
So it's up to you, and let me just say to the committee for her purpose of, while everybody's here, do you want to start deliberations next week? Or, because you only have
Let's see.
three,
I think what I like is if anybody had any questions, you know, sit on it, particularly, you know, Larry, also, I'd like to hear from you. I think that you have a lot of valuable input. If you had any questions or anything, just email them in or something or concern. And I think that if we could, you know, have everybody copied on it so that we could maybe have an email with questions, something like that in between now and the next meeting. Okay. But keep that in mind. Right? And I think we could probably start deliberations next week.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is
a
seconded.
second,
And I made notes, so.
All in favor? Aye. See adios.
all right,
Second retirement.
my second retirement, or third, or however long it is. Craig's staying, he's gonna stay.